All right. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to the Art of the Feminine podcast. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the month of April, and we're going to also be talking about the Libra full supermoon that's happening on April 7th and April 8th. And it's a very powerful full moon, and so I have a lot to talk about today. There's so much change happening in the world, and it's a very powerful and potent time. And the archetype of the Libra full moon is loaded with wisdom. And so I would also like to welcome all of the new subscribers to this channel. It's so nice to have you, and I really look forward to sharing with you. It looks like a lot of people have come in through the new videos that I've been doing on the channel called the Solar Feminine Activation Codes. And so we started this in December, and it's a monthly video that we're doing that is just an overview of how to use the archetypal wisdom for healing and for alchemy, for really regenerating our consciousness. And so there's a special energy that comes in through those videos. And so I invite you, if you haven't seen them, to go back and take a look at them. They're on the channel, Solar Feminine Activation Codes, one for each month. If you're new to my work, we are looking at the astrological transits, which we do 2 videos each month. And we look at them through the lens of alchemy, of metaphysical wisdom, and really powerfully through the lens of the divine feminine wisdom. My work, I've been specializing in this wisdom for the past 20 years. It's my calling, and it's where I've placed all the energy and where my heart really is drawn in this lifetime. And so we are the divine feminine, just to give you, and if you would like more information, you can look on the website, artofthefeminine.com, and you can also find it on social media on Art of the Feminine on Instagram and Facebook. So there'll be a whole bunch of information that will give you a really clear idea of where we're coming in at and what the perspective is and why the archetypal wisdom is so powerful. I was thinking to myself that with everything that's going on in the world, I wouldn't spend the time to do these videos. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of information for today. I wouldn't spend the time on this if I didn't see it as being so valuable. I work with the Sophionic codes in astrology. And so we bring in it's a very specific signature or flavor that we have when we look through. We're really looking through the heart, and we're looking at soul growth and soul alchemy. So we're talking about transmuting and regenerating the fallen consciousness by looking at these archetypes. They are loaded with powerful and creative information to help us heal. And so it's wonderful to have you new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. We'll be doing at least 4 videos a month in the coming months. I'm going to add something new. But today we will dig in very deeply to the Libra full supermoon. And so what we'll do is we're going to talk just for a few minutes about what is taking place in the world right now. We're going to just take an overview. I just want to tell you that the stream of wisdom and the information that is around right now is so alive. I can feel it. It's more powerful than I felt it in the past couple years. When I say I have about 25 sheets fully written out that I couldn't even stop the stream from coming in because there's so much for us to work with. This is a time of huge potency. The archetype of Libra is all about this. When we talk about Libra, we're looking at the scales. And so we'll talk about what's happening on the planet, and then we'll go into we'll look at the planets, we'll look at the sky, and what's with the theater of the sky, what's taking place at the time of the Libra full moon. And I'm going to do a special look at the goddess energy. We're going to look at the asteroids, and we're going to look at the planets that represent the divine feminine, because they're really talking to each other right now. In fact, I think I wrote out something for each one of them. We'll go through that. And then at the end, I'll go in a little deeper to the esoteric information on the Libra archetype. So if you're someone that's interested in that, make sure to watch the end, because there's this is Libra is a heavy hitter in the zodiac as well as in the archetypal wisdom. Libra carries divine justice at this time. And I'm writing an Akashic Insight newsletter tomorrow about the balancing. It's actually almost written. I'm going to send it out tomorrow, about the balancing of the masculine and the feminine. And this is what Libra is all about. Libra is about the scales, and it's really the male-female polarity, not just through men and women, but our inner male-female polarity. Make no mistake about it, that right now, and of course I'm biased, I'm coming in because this is my work, but I've watched this build over the years since I was a little girl, really. And I've known it because I was coded to come in and do this particular work at this time. This is the time of the divine feminine. And what that means is that there's a balancing taking place right now and a rebirth. The divine feminine is the domain of the balancing of male-female polarity. She rules creation and she represents the creative force. Venus rules Libra. Venus is the ruler of this super full moon on April 8th. Venus will be going retrograde on May 13th at a very powerful time. And so it's the imbalance on the planet that is everything that we see happening, whether it's the dark. And I also have a whole section about the dark forces, because we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Everything that is off balance is so loud and clear right now that we have to find it within ourselves to really awaken our hearts and to awaken the sensitivity of the feminine principle, the creativity of the feminine principle within all of us, man, woman, whatever gender you identify with, makes no difference. There is a divine creative principle within you, and this is what the sign of Libra is all about. Until we have our sovereignty, meaning until we all recognize that that power is within us, we will always put our power and hand our power to something that we think is on the outside. Now, in humanity, we have a whole spectrum of consciousness, and that's why we have the scales in Libra. You could take 1,000 people, and this was something that was shown to me last night when I was writing, that you could take 1,000 people that started with nothing and give every single one of those human beings or souls $1 million. This is how I was seeing it on the inner when I was writing, that you would still end up with a population that we see right now, somewhat. I don't want to generalize, but what my point is that there would be a variety in the spectrum of consciousness. What we would still have, let's say 1,000 people. This is really wild to think about. Everyone gets $1 million. Over a period of time, there would still be a percentage that ended up in poverty, that would lose everything. There would still be a percentage of people that would use the resources to satisfy addictions or self-sabotaging behaviors that hadn't been healed or dealt with. There would still be a percentage of people that created that were attached to the dark forces, that created their own negative entity, their own mafias that would be about control and exploiting those who sunk to the bottom, or those who didn't have the wisdom to understand how to use their resources. There would still be those who were not even really concerned with money, that would be more concerned with their creative self and would be interested in it, but not as interested. There would be those who were entrepreneurial, that would take that money and end up a billionaire after a certain period of time. And there would be those people who shared. There would be those people who were about the collective. So the point being, there's a variety of consciousness on the planet, and it's our consciousness that is the power that represents how we use what we have. Over the years, I've been working with people for a long time now, and I've been working with myself, and I'm a mother, and I'm in partnership. So I know that there was work. We all have work to do, and there are outer forces. There are definitely many dark forces we're going to talk a little bit about in this video that contract and that fight against us, and that's that polarity of Libra. We have swung so far. This is part of where we're going to be going. We've swung so far to one side that we're at a very crucial and important time right now. This is the most important time of our lifetime. So I can't wait. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But I just wanted to say, because Libra is about the we. Aries, we just did the Aries new moon, which is really powerful, and it's on the channel. If you go back, it has a lot of wisdom that leads into this. Aries is about the me. And I talked a lot about the global healing crisis with Chiron and Lilith. We talked a lot about the healing that was happening and that is happening. This is what's happening. There's a healing of consciousness and a raising up of consciousness. Some people call it ascension. It is a real awakening that's happening. Libra is the we. It's relationships. And so I wanted to start with talking about why relationships are challenging on the planet, because in this density that we live in, this realm of consciousness, we have a variety of kinds of people, and we have to navigate what to do. What do you do when you have a world full of people with different likes, different values? Venus, who rules the Libra full moon, rules our values. Taurus, Uranus is in Taurus right now at the time of the Libra full supermoon being squared exactly by Mars. This is such a powerful hit. It's exact. Both are at 5 degrees. Mars is at 5 degrees Aquarius, squaring Uranus at 5 degrees Taurus. Taurus is our values, and Venus rules Taurus. Our values are shifting, but so is our financial shifting, because with Uranus, we all know, we've all heard the wisdom around Uranus and Taurus. It's changing our financial system. This will be very powerfully activated at the time of the Libra full moon. Without a doubt, we see it's happening already. But the point is that the reason why relationships are hard, the reason why navigating a whole population is challenging, is because we have a variety of awakeness and a variety of consciousness. Everyone is sacred. Everyone has a divine spark. We've all worn all hats and played all roles. We've all had the opportunity, at least from this point of view, to experience the full spectrum. So there's no judgment, but there is, what Libra is teaching us is how to harmonize. Libra is about polarity, and it's about the power of Venus, the power of our creative self, to harmonize through equilibrium and balance, to open the portal, to release the forces, to send out a divine music into the world so that we can learn how to harmonize. What's happened is that Saturn is exalted in Libra. And I'm going to just touch on this really quick. We'll go back to what's happening in the world, and then we'll go back into the transits. Saturn, the planet of limitation and structure and form, contraction, is exalted in Libra, because Saturn gives us the ability to focus and to have a limited perception, to block out everything we don't need so that we can concentrate and create. Libra is the artist. When we are creating, we have to be able to push everything else aside, which is a form of limitation and contraction, so that we can harness the force of the divine feminine creative power to create. What happens is that we have to be able to do that. All human beings, through soul growth, need to cultivate this skill. how to create. This is part of the reason why I was shown the give 1,000 people $1,000,000. And I'm not trying to say that I've said every scenario that could happen with that, but it was just to kind of give an idea of variety and different spectrum of consciousness and ability to focus and create, to heal, to love, to balance with another. Relationships are so powerful because the relationship is about the me coming into the we. I wrote this last night. I'm sure this is, you all have heard this and know this, but every time I see it, I'm so amazed. When you take me, you write out me. Let's see, did I have me on top? You write out we, with caps, all caps. And this is in English language, the English alphabet. And then underneath it, write me. And when you pop them up, they're the exact mirror image of each other, me and we. And look we end up with 1, 1, 11. It's so amazing when we start talking the correspondence. 11, 1, 1 is the number of Libra, and it represents divine justice and balance. It represents the one mirroring the one, which equals the two. It's the we. Relationships, and this could be love relationships, but Libra's the 7th house, so it rules Scorpio. The 8th house starts to talk about sexual relationships, melding boundaries, sharing resources. Libra could be a love relationship, but it can also be any kind of partnership we have where we work with another person. Whenever we get together with another soul, all the little places inside us that are hiding and that would rather not be seen have to come out. It's the beauty of relationship. Now, there's also the inner, where we work with just our own light, but eventually all of creation is about the other. The creation is a variety. Nature is a variety, and we always at some point have to interface with the mirror, the collective subconscious mind. When we do that, it's confronting because those differences we pointed out are brought to light, and it shows us what we need to work on. So relationship, the sign of a healthy development in your soul is that we embrace relationship, and we don't fear them. We understand that, and there's different levels of relationship and intimacy and depth. It's interesting that Libra also talks about commitment, because when a commitment is different than just a more shallow, friendly relationship, even if it's sexual. A sexual relationship without commitment is kind of like scraping the cream off the top. It's like you don't really have to go very deep or get to know the person very well. It's just kind of a pleasure that is more on the shallow level. Even if it's a deep experience, the commitment to understand and know the other person and harmonize with them, at least in the conscious mind, is very minimal. But once we come into relationships that we form commitments with, and that could even be a relationship with your doctor, could be a relationship with your lawyer, could be a relationship with your neighbor, a relationship that demands that there's over a period of time we interact with each other. That's a relationship that you're going to have to grow and balance in some way. This is Libra. So we're going to get more into the esoteric of Libra. Let's just talk about what's happening on the earth right now. So this is what's coming in strong right now. And, there's a lot of, first of all, I hope that everyone's doing well. And it's been so nice to hear from everyone in the comments. I really enjoy hearing from you. And I hope that everyone in the home, the North Node in Cancer is bringing it, the last couple degrees of the North Node in Cancer is about the home. And it's about the hearth fire, and it's about food, and it's about love and nurturing. And so everyone's in their home, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be a good situation for everyone. There's a lot of fear around the financial, huge on the planet right now. And so I just want to take a moment to send everyone love. I know we're all feeling that, but it's also a really powerful time to understand this wisdom, because when the polarity, Libra is polarity, it's the law of polarity. When things are so off balance as they are on the planet, that it comes to this, it's gone all the way. We are at the full, this is truly, we are in the vortex of the in-breath and the pause before the out-breath. Breathing in, there's that moment when the chaos erupts, when everything dismantles and is collapsing. We've talked about this because of all the energy in Capricorn. We knew it was coming. We knew the dismantling was, we've all been talking about the dismantling of the patriarchal institutions. It's happening. We've arrived. It's here. It couldn't be more clear. But that we knew that would be the peak as these things happen and the changes come in. We're at the peak. I mean, we're building, it's building, and we have some time that we'll be going through this, but it's that pause before the momentum comes and the new trajectory is birthed. So right now is an empowered, light-filled, even if we're in the darkness for a moment, time to be aligned with what you are here to do. I know in my work, I'm just getting ready to start mentoring. I'm having people show up that would have never considered this before. And that's because when everything stops, it's all of a sudden it becomes so clear when this momentum starts to go forward, where do I want to be? What do I want to be aligned with? How do I want to be working? The world is changing. The financial system is changing. The way we connect with each other is changing. Where do you want to be? What kind of wisdom and knowledge and information? Will you be somebody sharing that? Will you be affected by it? Will you be will you be using your creativity to serve through a new archetype? There's new archetypes landing, and those new archetypes are calling for people to fill them. And so this is a time of profound opportunity to align with what's really important to you. In fact, and this is the way I'm seeing it in my own work already, is that if you're aligned right now, you're gonna receive a lot of energy and a lot of help, and that's just coming through me. But I've watched these energies day in and day out my entire life, and what I'm seeing now is that even though we have the fear building, we have uncertainty coming in. The truth is that the heart of humanity and those who have been waiting for this is opening. It's really opening. People are reaching out. People are connecting with their loved ones in new ways, healing relationships. There's also the downside of it, and I won't deny that, but there's an opportunity here. And so it's really powerful. Let me see. I will say about the dark. So in terms of what's happening, we call it an unseen enemy, or the dark forces. The dark energy that's part of this whole scenario, whether you consider it mythological, whether you consider it allegorical, whether you consider it interdimensional or physical, whether you consider it off planet or inner planet, whatever, or operating through the egos of the fallen consciousness on the planet, which is very, very real. Those who fall in the spectrum under the control, who would rather dominate and control other people with their money and exploit other people and money, they're a vessel and a vehicle for the embodiment of what is known as the archetypal force. That force is very real. We live in a world where there is polarity between good and evil, and the Libra is about understanding how to balance good and evil and to open the 0 point portal in the heart. The goddess Ma'at is the goddess we think of when we think of Libra, and this is so big right now. So, and breath. It's all Libra's an air sign, and through the balancing, it represents the balance of masculine and feminine, male and female polarity of our inner being through the heart. Right now, slow down. I have to work on slowing down all the time because I have a lot of Mercury and I tend to go, but I can tell you, slow down, rush for nothing, and listen. balance within and hear the inner voice. There's an inner word being activated right now, and be guided to know what you're meant to do. We are, as people are saying, we're born for this. We knew we'd be here at this time. And so it's really important to know that. So let's jump into the things and we'll talk about. So as far as the unseen enemy, the dark forces, that they're very real. And they show up in astral, they show up everywhere. There's a lot of deception. We talked about that in the last video. A lot of the behind the scene forces are battling it out right now. You could say there is a war happening on this planet. And, the controlling factors that control everything, really. That even though there's many, many, many good people surrounding, because this is the way society is built, that you oftentimes have few people behind the scenes or groups of people that hold sway over everything else. And it doesn't take much to really realize that, but it was known that it would be that way. This is nothing new. It's in all of our mythologies and our lineages and our scriptures. We know that we're coming to. It's about cycles. We're at the end of a cycle, and this is where that pause exists. So let's look at the planets, and then we'll save a little bit of time to go into the esoteric teachings of Lady Justice, Libra, ruled by Venus. So we have the sun and the moon. Look at where it falls for you. I think it falls for me. It falls in my third house of communication. Big. Okay. So the sun and the moon are at 18 degrees Libra. 18 is the number of Pisces and the number of the dark forces and deception, by the way, which is kind of fun to pull this in. But 18 represents the dark moon. So that's at 18 degrees. It's a super full moon. Closest moon to the earth of all the moons this year, closest supermoon. That means that the moon is extra powerful. The lunar force, which we know pulls on the mind, pulls on the subconscious, it pulls up the body of pain. That lunar force is associated with deep, deep fear. You're thinking of dark moon Lilith. It can represent what's hidden and what's really scary and deceptive and works with the darkest of the dark. But the moon also represents the creative power of the feminine to birth is very highlighted with the moon too. I talk a lot about this in the solar feminine activation videos, some more of the wisdom around this, but this is what the moon is connected with. There's so much more we could say. We won't say it here. Capricorn, we have the South Node in Capricorn. We have Pluto at 24 degrees, Jupiter at 25 degrees, Pallas Athena at 26 degrees. So that's looking at Pallas Athena, some goddess energy. I want to say that the sun is in Aries because obviously the full moon, I'm sorry, I said that wrong in the beginning. The moon is in Libra and the sun is in Aries. It's a full moon. So I scratched that. I wrote it down wrong. Because it's a full moon. And so we have the masculine and feminine opposing each other at the full moon. At the new moon, they're together at the same degree. In the full moon, their emphasis is on opposites, the axis, the masculine and feminine, the scales. Aries, me, Libra, we. Aries, the sun, the masculine, and the moon is in Libra. All right, so in Capricorn, we have Pluto and Jupiter conjunct. Pluto at 24, Jupiter at 25, and Pallas Athena, which is the goddess of wisdom and justice. And she's also trying to, in Taurus, we have Fortuna, which is about sudden gains and sudden losses. She corresponds to the Wheel of Fortune. This is kind of big because when I saw that in Fortuna, the glyph for Fortuna is the circle with the X in it, which is represents also the Wheel of Fortune in the Arcana, and it represents the turning of the wheel. And so because these energies are trine to Fortuna, it shows that there could be a shift in the financial. Fortuna, who governs gains and losses and sudden gains and losses, as well as just gains, it is in trine with Pallas Athena. So wisdom is trining fortune. Let's see how that plays out. All right. Saturn is newly moved into Aquarius. We're entering the age of Aquarius. A whole new archetype is birthing in human consciousness. Aquarius is going to represent brotherhood and sisterhood and the we. It's really the group and the we. And there's a whole new way of work and communities and life birthing. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Uranus is in Taurus at this time at 5 degrees, squaring Saturn, newly arrived in Aquarius. So this is very powerful. Saturn is at 1 degree, Aquarius. Uranus is at 5 degrees of Taurus. This is very big because Saturn is also conjunct Mars. Mars is at 5 degrees Aquarius in a direct hit with Uranus. So it's an exact square. Uranus, this is one of the biggest aspects of this full super moon. This is where we are going to see the impact, the momentum for huge change very fast. Very fast. So first week in April, around the 7th and the 8th, we're going to get this square. Mars is at 5 degrees. So Mars represents the tower. It's Shakti force and it's spirit, but it's also aggression. It's also explosion. It can also represent war and the warrior. It's the desire force. It's sexuality. Mars is our desire. It's our passion. It's red. And it's just a powerful, powerful archetype. It also represents Shakti and the spirit, the Holy Spirit as well, for transformation through the tower. But Mars is squaring Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, and we know that has to do with our financial system, and we know it has to do with our values changing very suddenly, and even aligning with the new Aquarian values, because Mars and Saturn are, Saturn is helping to anchor the power of Mars. It also puts a little bit of a limitation on it. It slows it and takes it, and digs it in when Saturn is conjunct it and then is hitting Uranus. So in some ways it's a hard aspect to have. It's harsh, but it's going to bring some change that will affect our values and our world and our earth, and that will align us with the age of Aquarius. And this isn't to make predictions. I don't use astrology that way very often, but I do believe that when we see the archetypes, they're within us. We learn how to harness the momentum of that. So how could we harness the momentum of that for good? Let's balance this by taking a moment. We can use the power of Mars squaring Uranus for transformation. It represents the tower, and it represents it represents enlightenment, really. The tower is really the splitting open of consciousness and the rising up of the truth of the soul's greatest light and capacity. So Uranus rules Aquarius, and this is a time to receive that information. At the full moon, you can really meditate and just ask yourself, what is my alignment right now? What am I meant to be aligned with right now? Because the energy is there. And we're all in it together. We're all going to experience whatever changes are happening. We're meant to be here. So just observe and listen and go slow. And be careful about getting too overloaded with the messages from the outside, because from day to day, they change. This world is really, it's at times like this, and a lot of people are reporting this to me, and I'm experiencing it too, but it's at times like this that we can see things aren't as solid as we think they are. It's our projection through Libra, through the artist, that we're creating this reality, but we have to know how to get in. We have to be not locked out of our own power. So the Hebrew letter for Libra is Lamed. And it's like a lightning bolt, like the tower. It's the Hebrew letter Lamed. The deep wisdom here is that it represents to teach and to learn, which is relationship. In relationships, we teach and we learn. I give to you, you mirror back to me what I've given you. And that's what relationships are. So deep. By the way, the work of transmuting and healing our inner work right now is so very powerful. This is the work that I do when I work one-on-one. And any program that I teach on my platform is about that in the various creative levels. But this is the time. This is the time in order to use the momentum of that swing into the next polarity. Huge changes on Earth, polarity shift. You want to be healing. You want to take accountability. You want to take responsibility for own all of yourself, shadow included, and decide how to direct the power of that. But so Lamed in Libra represents the uncoiled Kundalini force. So we have the Kundalini force that shows up also in the sign of Leo, in the Hebrew letter Tet, which is the snake, but it's coiled. In Libra, it's uncoiled. It's ready to act. And so it shows that it's active. It's no longer static. It's like this. We're doing a dance and we're accessing the point of power to release our creative vision into the world. And it's interesting that the opposite sign of Libra is Aries, which is about vision. Libra needs Aries, and Aries needs Libra. The me needs the we, and the we needs the me. Oh, wow. This is so big, you guys. We're really birthing a new planet. This represents the undeviating law of karmic justice. Karma is nothing more than energy. What swings this way now swings this way. The momentum is always going like this until it's harnessed through the center point. But the energy we put out always has a mirror, and that's all karma is. Karma isn't this thing that's been burdened upon us, although there's many reasons why some of us are carrying a huge amount of karma on this planet to help to transmute it, because we knew that even if we went to the very, very bottom and lost track of everything, we would come out of it. And it's an act of love to help raise the consciousness and then to help others wake up in whatever way we're called to. We're all doing this in our own way. But this is really big right now. Okay, so yes, so Lamed is meaning it's active. In Libra, we're ready to go. Now, the shadow of Libra is not being able to decide. It's being indecisive or non-committal. Anything that we commit to, we will have power in and will give us power. In Libra and the Venus and the feminine thrives in commitment, because when we commit, we use the power of Saturn for limitation. And when we have limitation, the force gets stronger. It's like water in a cup, or water in a dam, or water in a river. The difference between water just being scattered everywhere and water being in a stream or a river is two different worlds. It's two different powers. So Libra is about harnessing and activating the power so we can create. In order to do that, we have to understand balance. So we're going to keep moving here. The age of Aquarius is on, and Ceres, the goddess Ceres of motherhood, is in Aquarius. She rules providing and nurturing and providing for our children, something that's been overlooked on this planet and very devalued. With the North Node in its last degrees of Cancer, the home, anything having to do with nurturing, sensitivity, the home, the mother, the womb is all on. And wouldn't you know that I'm just laughing at the timing of this. The last couple degrees of Cancer, we did a huge video about the North Node transiting Cancer, the sign of the mother, the sign of the deep, deep inner foundation of the feminine. This is all happening right now. This is the gift we're getting as our focus now will be moving into Gemini, which is really alchemical, but the mother energy has landed. We're all in our home. The home represents love, and it represents the womb, and it represents all things around food and nurturing. Ceres is in Aquarius at this time, activating the age of Aquarius with mother energy, which is going to be returned back to its respected and valued place on this planet. Pisces is in Neptune, or Neptune is in Pisces at 19 degrees, the degree of the sun. Mercury is in Pisces, also giving us that kind of underworld awareness from within. Aries, the sun is in Aries at 18, conjunct Eris, goddess of discord. All of these planets are in a square with the cardinal signs, and in a T-square really with Libra, Aries, and Capricorn is still really on. It's really, I mean, well, Pluto's there, obviously, conjunct Jupiter, huge. This T-square between the moon and the sun in Capricorn is very big. Big energy with Pallas Athena right there. Lilith is in Aries. Chiron is in Aries. They're both still there. Eris in Aries. I mean, that's a lot of energy in Aries energy too. So Aries Libra is working for us. Taurus. Okay, so we have Uranus at 5 degrees Taurus. We know that Uranus and Taurus is bringing us the changes. Uranus is direct and rules the age of Aquarius. Uranus represents the breath and the heart on one level. Uranus represents air, and so the lungs and this whole respiratory thing that we have. This is a time to talk about that. I'm just going to take a moment and touch on that. That the lungs have to do with, even though Libra doesn't rule the lungs represent the goddess Mat and the coming into the heart. And Libra is an air sign, and so is Aquarius. Breath is that polarity, breathing in, holding, suspending, and breathing out. There's breath, there's yogic exercise you can do that's very powerful, in fact, to strengthen the lungs. And that's to breathe in, let's say for 8 counts, hold for 8 counts, and exhale for 8 counts. Now I said 8, which is the number of Saturn, but you can be for 4, 8, 20, as long as you can do it. Equal parts though, breathe in, hold, that will strengthen the lungs as well. And it will bring awareness in your psyche to the power of breath. Breath is everything. Breath is life. We have life because we breathe. Bottom line, consciousness can be here and be active in this realm because of the breath. So the forces wanting to attack the breath is we can take that very personally. The Divine Mother can take that very personally, and know that we have a relationship with our breath, and it helps to slow us down. And by breathing properly, we see, we hear, we speak, and we touch. We purchase, we interact on a much higher level when we have the awareness of our breath. So it's very powerful to understand that Uranus rules the breath, and it rules Aquarius in Taurus right now. Okay, Gemini, oh, this is big. Venus at 3 degrees, Vesta, the priestess Vesta at 6 degrees. So they're conjunct, and they will come into an exact conjunction. But Venus and Vesta, VEVE, are both in Gemini, this alchemical sign that the North Node will be traveling into. So Venus is heightened. She's with Vesta, and before her retrograde, the Venus retrograde is going to be something to really keep an eye on. I look forward to doing that video. Cancer, it's sign of Cancer, the last of the North Node. So we've covered these planets. Oh, Juno is opposite true Lilith. Juno at 12 degrees Libra, so we're covering all the feminine archetypes. Juno represents female empowerment as well as relationships and balancing loyalty and in relationships, and there's a whole fascinating, but she also corresponds to Jupiter. Jupiter was her husband. Jupiter, Juno, and Lilith are exactly opposite each other at this time. So, all right, I'm going to go a few more minutes, and that's it. So we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. Help us to alchemize and train. There's a harmony that happens in relationships. Now, when you're at home with your ones you love, pay attention to what needs cleaning up or healing at this time. It's a good time to do it. All right, so what else? We talked about the Hebrew letter. Venus is the ruler of the super full moon in Libra. And she represents the power of our creative force working through this intellectual air sign to create. So because Venus rules Taurus and Venus rules Libra. Venus is really on right now, and it's a super full moon. So just know she represents our creativity, and she represents consciousness itself. Consciousness is represented by the high priestess, which is very, very connected to Taurus and the North Node. In fact, in Cancer, there's a lot of divine feminine energy at this time. And so, if those teachings are new to you, I invite you to come. You can see a lot of the work I've done at artofthefeminine.com or on Art of the Feminine on Instagram. Because there's a lot of different varieties of work in the divine feminine, but this is specifically about healing the polarity of the masculine and feminine at this time. And Libra is about this, and it's about healing relationships. And as we get into Taurus and Scorpio, we'll start to talk about sexuality and material power. This is a really big time on Earth right now to be doing this healing. And so the forces of nature are harnessed in Libra through this creative act. So what does that mean? Libra is the heart. It's the heart of all of this. That's why I said Libra is a heavy hitter, and Venus rules it. So the heart, Venus archetype, and Venus being the heart, even of the arcana, and the heart of Venus really through Libra governs the great work in a very big way. I think I can leave with that. Yeah. Access your inner resources and get kind of feeling good before Venus goes retrograde. You want to kind of get things in a row. I know this is a time to really be guided. If you're meant to do a certain work or you're meant to go in a certain direction, follow your intuition, because we're setting up for the new. We're birthing the new world, and this is the time when you're at home and like everything is taken away. And yes, we may be losing money at this time or this or that, but it's a gift, because all bets are off right now. You can stop. A lot of people are working online, which is powerful, but we also have a little bit less outer activity. It's a time to get your ducks in a row and start to look at where you're going from here, because it's a big time. And I know that with all my heart, because I'm seeing what's happening in my own world, in my own work, and it's the time of it. The time is here. The time for the momentum to swing back the other way is here. So we need to use our magic and harness those forces of nature. Society is about ideas. Whatever ideas we hold dear to us are what we create. And so value where you give your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So this is everything to do with Libra, the power of the creative imagination working through what we take in. So we really a time to balance and understand what you allow to inform you. As far as what's really happening right now, we all have to take care of ourselves and take the proper precautions and ride this out so that we really understand what it is to nurture ourselves and take care of ourselves, and then come back stronger and ready to do the things that we know we're here to do. Because everything is we probably going to continue on. It will be very interesting to see where we go from here. All right. Take one quick look. There's a whole section on projecting the future, but we'll talk about that next time. Oh, yes. This is what I want to say. If you watch any energy about or videos about the virus is inert until we give it a platform. It's just something to think about. That's not to be in denial at all, but it's just to kind of think about that. What do I give a platform for to birth? It's one thing to be practical about what's happening right here and right now, but what do you want to project into the future? That we can co-create with. So I'm sending everybody so much love. Let's close with I am. What we do not use, this is the last thing I will say, atrophies. So if we don't use our own power, our body, our light, our creativity, our relationship skills, they atrophy. Now is a time to use our God-given talents. It's like the 1,000 people with $1 million. What are you going to do with your $1 million? Because right now, it's like that's what we're being given. So let's just close with I am. in the 7 directions. This is a blessing that I invite you to do. It just activates your higher self within your auric field. It also represents the Star of the David and the harmonizing of male and female polarity. So repeating after me, I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. And then you take a deep, deep, deep breath in and hold it for just a moment. It builds up a little awareness under the solar plexus, draws in a little prana, and then exhaling it all out, we say, I am, I am, I know I am, I am, I am, I know I am. And as I was saying that, I thought we could also say, we are, we know we are. For Libra, we could say, we are, we know we are. And so we're at the end of the video. I want to mention that and I mentioned this in the last video, I put off starting, because it might be the last time I do the one-on-one work, I put off starting the 3-month one-on-one mentoring. I've signed on some really powerful people, but I have a little bit more space. If anyone's interested, this is a really powerful time. If you're interested in this work, I can tell you the well is very deep, and I watch people start here and leave in a different space. And so if you're interested in doing that work with me, you can contact me. I'll put in the description box a link where you can get in touch with me, and I'll send you more information. We can talk about it a little if you'd like to, but that's happening right now up through maybe mid-April. So that being said, I wish you all many, many blessings. Keep safe, keep with your loved ones until we meet again. Namaste.